Hello, and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO and VC podcast, where we are reshaping life, leadership, business, and investing from the inside out. And today I am welcoming on a fresh Monday morning from Germany, Brandon Bernklau. I don't know what happened then. I just went to call you Brendan, and it's Brandon. Hello,
No
Brandon.
worries.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, very nice to be here.
Yeah, you too. And this is the first time you've ever done a podcast where it's been virtual. Generally, you said you
Yes,
do them in person. So I'm
exactly.
only just starting to do the opposite. I'm starting to do podcasts in person, and I've done majority of my 300 plus interviews like this. And so here we are. So we're, having a first experience, for you. And I've done 2 in-person interviews today. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah, usually I go there in person and meet the person. But yeah, as the moment like I'm in Europe and was in Indonesia before, so it
Yeah.
would have been closer, but I had to go to Europe for work. So yeah,
Yeah, because
but
like you said,
I'm happy we can manage it like that.
yeah, me too. I should have jumped on a plane and headed over to Bali when you were in Bali, because it's seriously not that far away from here in Australia.
Exactly.
Anyway, Brandon, let's get into it because you have quite the story. And I'm actually going to flip this right around. I'm a bit spontaneous, just so you know, by the way. And I want to just preface to everybody listening to the show today, I have no shame in my age. I'm 48. I'm turning 49 this year, and Brandon's 24. Are you turning 25 this year, Brandon, or have you just turned
Yeah,
24?
in November I'm turning 25 this year.
Yeah,
So
right.
just turned 24 yeah, 5 months ago.
So I'll pretty much be 25 years older than you. So that's pretty wild. Anywho, what a great conversation. We spoke last time when we caught up, and I said you and I talked about lived experience. I lived 25 plus years in my career, and now your career. And let's get into it. I want to start with when you booked in for the podcast and I asked you, what's one unique insight, lived experience, or how are you reshaping life, leadership, business, and investing? And you said going from enterprises to young founders, specifically 18 to 32 years, reshaping their lives to become the next generation of our entrepreneurs and shaping the future. For this, I dedicated my life to it. You also, get this, everybody, you're on a mission to hit a 1 billion valuation by the time you're 30, and that's 6 years away. And I'll let you share that story in a second. So without further ado, you are the managing partner of Bernklau and Company International. You're also a founder, investor, and operator. And you operate at the intersection of capital, consulting, and next generation company building. Like I said, you've got that 1 billion valuation mission. Don't stress about the background. We'll just ignore it. It's whatever goes on this show. So just relax.
I'm so
We've
sorry.
got people behind us. I've got
I'm
Marley Bob
currently
here. He's just had some dinner. So just don't worry. There's nothing to be worried about there. Like,
okay,
it's just
amazing. No,
life, right?
I'm visiting my mom at the moment since it's my second time this year actually seeing her because as I said, I really like usually trying to get there in person with clients, partners. Yes,
You're okay. You're okay, Brand.
and that's why just had some breakfast.
Yeah, please don't stress. So you have a background spanning enterprise environments through to early stage ventures, and Brandon brings a dual lens combining structured large-scale business experience with a deep commitment to supporting emerging founders. Your work is focused on bridging that gap, helping translate experience into execution for the next wave of entrepreneurs. Like, you work closely with those founders, and it's not just to build their companies, it's also to reshape how they think, operate, and lead. And your
Exactly.
approach goes beyond capital. And I talk about this soulful consciousness in terms of embedding directly into the journey as a partner in both the business and the personal evolution, because personal evolution is just as important as the business growth and evolution as well. Tell us a bit about your journey. Tell us your story.
Okay.
You're 24. You are a baby. You have huge ambition, huge goals. I love it. How did you fall into this? Yeah.
I think it all started. I was born in a pretty entrepreneur family. My grandpa was an entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur, We have a family business. He built it up from like in 1969, and basically every time we're sitting together, I get stories about how they had to invest, how they sacrificed, what they sacrificed to build it all up. Everyone in the family, and I pretty much got into the office with him since I was already a child, reading books like accounting books instead of night stories. I got those, and I was always like in the entrepreneurial environment. My mom was freelancing as well, so I saw also the difference between what's a company and what's a freelance, since it's again two different things. Though usually you start as a freelancer and then you work into making it into a company, and it's a whole process that needs to be done. And yeah, so when it comes to the entrepreneur side of it, I have it from like beginning on. Then my family was never really academic. None of my family members, I'm actually the first one who has a university degree in
Yeah,
my
right.
whole family. I think times has also changed that now we are very much focused a lot about academics and maybe even less about the entrepreneur side, though or working side. And as a half German, we love work. We love to keep ourselves a bit busy, and yeah. So I bring on like with my family from the entrepreneurial side, but then they also were super invested into me, the academic side. And then I saw also the difference between theory and practice. And a lot of people I realize is I would say, over theorize things and not put it into action directly. What I rather do is that we go from theory and then putting that plan into action. And sometimes there needs to be improvisation, sometimes the plan changes a bit, adjustments will have to be made, etc. But yeah, that's kind of also because my family business is very funnily, it's building the electricity infrastructure in Germany. So we build the landlines, or like we make the blueprints for the landline.
Mm,
And it's very interesting because every project or every company or every business or whatsoever always starts with like a small blueprint. Like,
mm.
where do you want to go? Why are we doing this? What has to be done before we start practicing, and then putting those things into action. And then it's like you just follow the plan, but you know exactly where it goes.
I agree.
And it's very interesting with the family business because, like, before you build a landline, like where you know they need to test the earth if it's not sinking. They need to test the air. They need to test the regulations and everything. So a lot of theory, and then they build it and put it into action, but also in very detailed. So when will what be done, and also what screw needs to be put here and whatsoever. So, but they already know exactly how it's gonna look and when it will be done
That's the
approximately.
precision. That's the German precision, right? Like, you guys are so
Yes,
precise.
exactly.
Everything is just so articulate. I got a lot of questions for you. So,
Okay.
in terms of then your mission, like and this 1 billion valuation by the time you're 30, and yet also that you have made it your life mission to basically you've decided to dedicate your life to shaping the future of entrepreneurs. Tell us a little bit about that duality when you've got this, success financial target here, and then you talk about the personal evolution of entrepreneurs, specifically focus on 18 to 32. Tell us a
I
little
was
bit about.
I was working a lot, maybe before I get into that, I was working a lot with enterprises the last years, in the fashion industry and the political side as well, with the UN, for example. So I was like working with institutions and enterprises all the time. And I realized that changes, first of all, here take a lot of time first. And the second of all, also on a personal level for myself, is like, I want to reshape kind of way the future and not the present, if that makes sense. So I really then doubled down and said, okay, who is the future? And that's us, if I may say. And so I said, okay, if I wanna have a voice, I wanna reshape generations and also reshape a bit what we do and how the future looks like for all of us. Then I have to talk to the people in my age, and I have to talk to the people that have a vision for us and not just for themselves. There are a lot of individualists out there just thinking about themselves. And what I want to change is that we work all together. It comes a bit from my idol. My idol is his name is Joseph Beuys. It's an artist, a German artist, and he said that every human being is an artist reshaping the future, basically.
I like that. Every human being is an artist reshaping the future, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
there's a very famous quote he said on some congress about this. And he built artistic movements during the Second World War or after the Second World War, bringing people together and making a certain, yeah, reshaping landscape, reshaping thinking. He was building a 7,000 oaks, yeah, landscape in, sorry,
Now, can you hear the squeaking? Can you hear this
yeah, yeah.
squeaking? Now I've got this person. Here he is. So, like, I'm going to make you feel better. I've got this thing. This is called Dino, the dinosaur, and he is just squeaking away because he wants my
Hi.
attention. Say hi, hi, Francis. This is Smelly Bob. Anyway, sorry.
No worries, no worries. I mean, I've got something going on as well here.
Yeah.
So, no, in the end of the day, like, I also wrote a long paper about this. That was actually my bachelor thesis during my studies. It's that politics, environment, social, economics, all comes together down to like how we think, how we act, and how we consume.
Mm.
This then again comes down to our emotions. So everything is bounded by our emotions. So that's also super interesting to think about that everything we do is just emotional. And yeah,
So
so
how do you,
it's kind of my idol, I would say.
yeah, I love this idol of yours. It's so fascinating. And I love that you're like a wise old soul at 24 years of
Yeah.
age, you know, with all
My
this knowledge.
clients tell me the whole time.
Yeah. So, you know,
Yes.
when you talk to 18 to 32-year-olds, what are you seeing as a difference between, you said you guys are the future, the next gen of, you know, business, the next gen and leaders. What would you say is the difference between, say, your group of leaders versus, say, me at my age and you know, our, you know, my generation of leaders, if you like? What would you say see and obviously from a family business perspective as well, you're obviously doing things very differently to the way your family did things, although, you know, I'm sure there's still the plan and the precision, you know, the German precision that comes through. What would you say are the big differences, though?
And the difference between, that's a good question. I think there is also a lot of similarities in the sense more.
Good.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be so different from each other. I just think that the main
What is-
difference is what we have in tools and possibilities
Mm.
in the age, because I mean, Gen Z, we grew up with a phone in our hand kind of way. Like we know exactly, and also AI tools. That's why, and apps and all of these. That's like super new markets. And I also know a lot of VCs like storming onto it when like young people build an app, for example, because we grew up with playing tools and playing with technology. By the way, I love to say play. My clients always say this to me. I have a client in the trading space, and I say he's playing with the money. Um, because and not working with the money because I kind of see that it's like a game kind of way. And that's what my point was about this. Like a lot of us stopped going away from playing like video games, for example, to playing in with like building an app or building a tool or building anything like that. I mean, I have a friend, for example, he built an app and sold it to a VC for like 100 million. So It's and he's 18 in the end of the day. So it's a lot of playing with how we can use our now possibilities and also our knowledge in the field of already like technology and other that Gen Z comes with social media, especially like we have
Yeah.
Sophie social media marketing agencies out of there, SMMA, who are like now super going and trying to get viral, new hooks, new trends, all of this. And that's something I think it's kind of our expertise, I would want to say,
You know
because
what's really,
we
I'm
grew up
sorry.
with it.
Yeah,
No,
you grow
please.
up. You know what? I just had a thought, and I do want you to like tell us what you think of the similarity. And before we do that, though, you just talked around. You guys have grown up with all the tech at your fingertips, like mobile phones, etc., etc. And then us older, if you like. I don't see myself as old though. I see myself when I talk to you, I feel like we're the same age, even though we're not. We've got that human, not suggesting you don't, but we've got more of the human aspect. And I just think it's really interesting because you could bring those two together more than ever in this world that is rapidly changing. And then what I'm seeing in terms of, if you read, there's culture issues because, from in businesses and especially startups, because it's being built on so much technology, etc. What are you seeing as the similarities then in the ages?
I think it really depends on the persons, but um, I kind of the hunger, I would say. When we talked the first time, I still see like you already have like so many things behind you with your past company that you sold, right? And now you're saying, okay, I don't want to stop here just because I made monetary, money with it. I don't want to stop here because in the end of the day, it's also not about the money. It's about just like you want to build something, you want to create value, and I mean, money is an exchange of value in the end of the day. But I like this hunger, no matter what age, like you can still reshape your own life and also everyone's life, no matter what age you are, to be very honest. And I think that's similarities. And I lived with this, and that's my family motto, never give up. No matter what age, if you want to recreate your life. I also met great people that changed their life with 40 and said, okay, I want to start something now. It's never too late, to be honest.
No.
And that's why for me, the age in the fact in that matter, it doesn't, yeah, it just doesn't matter in that fact, because the hunger is might be still there. It's just that, and that's nothing bad. It's just from the lifespan speaking, if the earlier start, the more time you have. It's just
Yeah,
normal.
I, I agree. Tell us a little bit about the like, what did you never give up. There's days as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you talk to your clients a lot about this. There's more hard days than there is great days. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like a roller coaster. Like, for example, I woke up this morning, I was like pumped for the week. Like, I'd had a really restful Sunday. I was feeling good. And then just a couple of things happened. And then I could feel my mindset just slipping into fuck.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a roller coaster.
oh, like, and I was like, and I was just like, I was just like, oh. And so I've been really all afternoon conscious of noticing the thoughts that are kind of kicking around because it's basically saying, why are you bothering? Like, just like, it's never going to work. This is, like, there's all these ends. So you have to really check yourself. Like, yeah,
With the never give up, like, first of all, I grew up with this, and whenever there was something really hard, if it's personal, private life, or business life, my grandpa, my mom, everyone in my family always told me, never give up. Just, you know, stand back up. And I live by this, but also with my clients. I always say, that's the funny fact, I always want them to write me like 3, 4 pages of why they're doing this. Because I will hold this kind of against them when they have a bad day. Like reminding them, why are you doing this? I also have this. I don't have 3 pages, I have 40 pages. I also remind myself, why am I doing this? Why am I like wanting to hit 1 billion? Why am I helping other people? Why am I reshaping this and all of this? And when I have a bad day, and yeah, most of the days are, it's a bit low roller coaster, and yeah, it's also very hard. But I learned this also recently from my marketing director. He he just said like in the end of the day, it's just money if there's a problem, and we still live, we live, we exist, and we have a great life if we just have the right people around us. That's why we're also super picky now by who we take as partner, who we take as clients, who we take, because I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning stressing about something that I won't care about anymore in 2 years, if that makes sense. So it's a temporary bottleneck that can be, resolved in time, and that's nothing permanent. And that's why I try to keep myself remind myself this is something, this like a bump in the way, I would say, and I'll fix it, and then I go and move on.
So you've got this $1 billion valuation. And just listening to you about your marketing director and, like for me, money is energy. It's a value exchange, exactly like you're talking about. Energy comes in, it goes. Like there's light and dark energy. There's light and dark, points to money exchange as well. Never give up. And then there's this 1 billion valuation in terms of like, talk to me a little bit about why the 1 billion valuation. And I guess I'm trying to get into I cannot remember the name of the book. It's The Psychology of Money. Have you read that book?
I don't think I did, to be very honest. Read recently The Principle of Power.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you
I'll
know
share that
that.
book with you. He talks about, the relationship you have with money. And I'm not suggesting that, you're like just this kind of money hungry, wealth creation. Like you talk about personal evolution and you talk about
Yeah.
wealth. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that.
Okay. It's a lot. So I set the goal at 1 billion by end of 30 because you're gonna have to have a target. That's the first thing. Like you kind of have to have like a desirable outcome. I can already say that we're already at the 8 figures in valuations. So I said, okay, either I set the 9 or the 10, and I am ambitious. I am ambitious. So I set it at 10. And it's if we hit it or not, I'm pretty sure we will. If I do it before 30 or not, that's something down to our plan, and we have a plan for it. Uh, but it's more like giving myself a bit of a speed, giving myself a bit of like how do you call this, like hot air, hot seat. I would say, speeding things up and trying to make it perfect, trying to make it work, and not being like slowing down, not giving up on anything like that. That's why I said it. I didn't set it especially for the money part, to be very honest. Like it could be 100, it could be 200, it could be 1, 2, 3 billion whatsoever. It's more about we want to hit a target. We want to work on something that's a bigger vision for ourselves. Because in the end of the day, what does someone really want with 1 billion? You can have a great life with several, like some thousands a month, and just live your standard life. Again, it's not about the money, it's more about having a vision for us, the team, knowing what we work for and also what we work on, and something tangible, not just intangible. It's like, okay, we're gonna reshape a generation, we're gonna make it the new powerful leaders in the world, and also like our clients, our partners, they have something to grasp, if that makes sense. Like something in numbers, in physical, like intangible things that we want to build. And yeah, that's why I said it. So it's more about a vision that we work to something, and how this is gonna look like. We develop over and over again new projects, new things, and I mean, right now for example, we open up internally for now an academy itself, like how to become actually a great, associate in my company, how to have a career in my company as well. So we hired people and they working their way up, but also learning everything on the way. So we have an internal academy as well already now.
Yeah, it's quite an incredible story. You talked about good power, like, oh no, sorry, you talked about the leaders of the future, next gen, and the power. There's so much going on in the world as we speak, and I'm very much an optimist in terms of I do think that the power dynamics are shifting, will shift, over time, and I look at the younger generation like yourselves. I'd like to see more women founders, more women, getting funding
Yeah.
and like leveling that out as well, especially in the VC space and especially in the entrepreneur space. What is power like? What does good power look like to you from a leadership perspective into the future? What are you seeing?
I think power in that sense, that's why I read it, the principle of power. The whole book's it's like 200 pages. It's all about never self-doubt yourself and never doubt yourself. If you have self-doubt, it comes through fear or it comes through a certain mistake or you want to regret or whatsoever. But it's just a natural thing that we have as human beings because if we never experience something, then we fear. We're afraid of it. But once you did it like one, two, three times, it will get normal. And this is like the power, I think. This is literally power for me is like you've done something you've never done before, and then you get better in it. And that's the same with like business and going to the gym or whatever. And that's just like power in a day-to-day life for me, necessarily, it doesn't need to be about holding a political office, for example, because or having money on the back end. Yes, we're living in a capitalistic society, so we run on money. We biggest voices are the people with the most pockets. I would say that's true, but in the end of the day, it's the power of the people, if I may say that. And if we all come together, we're stronger than uh, and it starts for me with not doubting.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, not doubting. And I think that, the power of the pocket will always, at this point in time, it will always take, it'll always be the loudest voice. I think though that for
That's
me,
true.
it's how you go.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. And that's why it also makes sense for me to say I want to hit the billion because it gives me and my company a certain power of a voice that I can represent my partners, my clients, and the people that stand behind me as well, and believe together into a vision. And that's something that my clients put into me as well. My partners my team puts into me. The whole trust in this that I will use the voices in that sense of what they give to me to do something good.
Yeah, I was about to say a voice for good power. For me, a voice for good power
Exactly.
requires us to be more empathetic, have more, lead from the inside out, be connected to one's soul, mind, body, soul, like being evolved and continue to be able to reshape and evolve. And
Yeah,
put the people
exactly.
first, like put the people first versus like all the fighting, etc. I think that's really important as we go forward.
I've come from a bit of like a diplomacy way and political way as well. I was representative of the Bavarian Yelp in the European Parliament, for example. And for me, it's also when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to all of that, I'm very diplomatic about things. Also, when we had the UN mission, it's all about, for me, about negotiations, communication, especially like, of course, I have to also sometimes go through a fight. We recently had also a bit of like a legal fight, for example, and I had to talk to my lawyers, which is something really not nice, but like, and it's part of a business, it's normal. But for me, down to earth, it comes to communication. So you talk to people and you want to find a solution together for both sides, and everywhere it's the same. And then obviously, it's an exchange of certain like compromises certain negotiations, then the money usually is also involved.
Yeah,
But
and
in the
basic.
end of the day, it's just like how do we feel with each other? How is the communication going? All of that goes into like the value of money as well.
So true, so true. Gosh, you're so wise. You are so wise for your age. It's quite unbelievable
Thank
at
you.
24 in terms of how do you hold it all together, Brandon? Like you have a big role in your company. You've got a lot on your plate by the sounds of things. You did call out earlier that the Germans like to work hard. When do you actually ensure how do you keep yourself, thriving? How do you keep yourself ensuring you've got the space, the fresh perspectives, the ability to, come in and be the best person you can possibly be inside
Yeah,
out? How do you do
that's
that?
that's a good question. I think also the fact that I see all my clients, partners, and team members very often in person as well. And they're all around the world. So we operate on 4 continents. So Asia, Europe, well, I call the Middle East a continent, even though it's not. The Middle East and the US, like the North American continent. It's very much like, yeah, I travel a lot. January, for example, I was on all of them. So I see them a lot in person. I get new energy by a new place, a new city, a new person I meet. Sometimes, yes, it is draining. That's why, for example, I take my time out kind of way with seeing my family, seeing my parents, and just coming back to like I'm really a smaller city and taking a step back, realizing everything that's going on, looking it over, and then going back into the wild kind of way and back into the fight for it all. I think this mix kind of gives me the possibility of saying, okay, I get new energy because of a new place, new people, and the people are already comfort and I already know because they're representing me and the company locally. And also sometimes taking a step back for me as a person, mentally, physically, all of it, to just like not reset, but regain energy from that as well. So it's a bit of a balance in that sense. Though every travel I do is connected to work. I think the last years, even when I was a freelancer, I think the last 2, 3 years I had like accumulated now 175 flights, so it's like an average, I think, 4 flights a month, something like this.
Yeah.
It went a bit more the last 6 months because the team grew and I wanted to, meet everyone. And for me, a client is really not just a number on my screen or in my CRM. It's really a person for me. Chat with them. I go for coffees with them. I meet them in person, and they're not just like a normal invoice. They're an actual human being for me. We also like with all our clients, we always have WhatsApp group chats. We want to keep it as personal as possible and as close as possible because we work not just on their company, we also work on them because in the beginning, it's usually like when you start out, it's a founder-led company and a founder-level company. And at some point, you have processes, systems, strategies, a team, everything like that, that the founder can also say, okay, I'm going to take a step back for like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and so on. I do this also, by the way, with I do like a test every year or every 6 months, maybe. I do like, okay, I'm going to take off for 5 days. Then see does it work, continue working, is what problems are gonna come up when I'm not involved anymore in my own company. And it's also a very new feeling for me. We just started this year with
Great.
this, and
Love it.
I did 5 days, and
Switched off?
I
Switched off?
yeah, I it's 5 days, and I took my COO, my chief operation officer, took everything over, and I was like a bit scared about it. Mm, but in the end of the day, well, I had 120 unread messages. And nothing broke down. There were
That
problems.
took me years
Thank
and years
you.
and years to do that, and it's the best thing you can possibly do because do you know what? At the end of the day, the business keeps going and it's only 5 days, and so I think by setting that precedence and showing everyone that you trust and that, that just brings that team camaraderie around in terms of it's really important that you do that. I used to do it
Yeah, yeah,
and
it's necessary. Also, it's at some level, I also tell my clients to do this because they need to see that the system we implement for them and we also what we do together is that it actually runs. Then we have a lot of like this hustle culture in my generation, my age. Like you have to work 16 hours a day every day to make it work. In the beginning, you have to be honest. Yes, you have to, because you're the only one working on it. And the faster you make it work, the faster it goes. But at some point, you reduce this and give it and delegate also because you're just one person. So you can also you only have 24 hours like everyone else. And you're not perfect in everything. So you have to have sometimes an expert, either external or internal,
yeah,
that,
great.
helps you. But yeah,
Yeah, I do not believe in it. I mean, for my
Mhm.
burnout, like I worked 80 to 100
Yeah.
hours a week. I just think sleep is so important, and I used to average 3 to 4 hours a night. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep, and it catches up with you, that chronic stress. And I think that I just think there is a different way to be able to let a business scale. And it comes back to me also in terms of hustle is push, force, effort, effort, effort versus, we've talked a lot about energy. We've talked about flow in not quite literally, but we have. And I think sometimes when we actually surrender, let go, like you're talking about as well just now, things happen the way they're meant to happen. It happens more in an effortless way, and I'm not suggesting you just go hands off like, "Oh, I'm just gonna let the universe sort it out for me." That's not the point here. I just know from
No.
my own lived experience that the hustle culture it's just I'm seeing it with AI at the moment, like, in terms of just, like, the amount of it's like there's more work than ever. As much as it's creating efficiencies, you're going down so many different rabbit holes because 'cause you're teaching yourself all this new stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
load up,
And
load up,
through social media, it's not getting better. Through social media, everyone is like, "You're missing out here, you're missing out here." FOMO is, like, literally and the most marketing, situation we have now. Like, since you just open WhatsApp, you open Instagram or whatsoever, or TikTok, and then something happens, and you have to be there, you have to be that. And that's just I mean, that's marketing in the end of the day, just to catch your attention, to make you buy something, to give you an emotional fear of something, fear of missing out. I also it's normal. I also sometimes catch myself, being into this fear of missing out. But in the end of the day, I do have a lot of time uh, I still have, and I can devote for something. And I always say this to everyone. It's like Rome wasn't built in one day. So no, nothing. You don't need to be afraid of missing out on something.
Exactly. It'll happen when it's meant to. I'm gonna flip this right around. I'm conscious that you need to get onto your day, and it's Monday evening here for me. I generally leave the come to the end of the show and ask 2 questions specifically, and I'm gonna let you and I always ask the final 2 questions. I'm gonna let you ask me 2 questions
Okay. Yeah.
to wind up the pod.
My most important the first one, and that's, like, for everyone, I think the most important part is, why are you doing this? Why try to keep it as simple,
Yeah, I
but
think I know why I'm
why
why. I know
yeah,
exactly why I'm doing it, and I'm as clear as ever. I may not articulate it as clearly as I do some days. I am doing this because I am here to show and prove that there is a different way to live, lead, and do business. That is in terms of a life that is, we're continuously evolving. It just comes back to we don't have to kill ourselves to be successful. So reshaping and redefining what success looks like. I think that for me, I epitomize what it takes to hit your success and do it in a way that was so unsustainable. Here to the impact and the mission I have in my life is to reshape the future of life, leadership, and business.
so I love this because we kind of have the same goal forward for that. We're in completely different lives and completely also different ages, but we say follow the same, I would say, goal and vision, and I think that's very nice to hear from my side, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
The second question I would say is, as far as I know, you focus also a lot of like younger entrepreneurs. Is that correct, or all of it?
Different ages. I do have quite a few younger ones at the moment, and I think it's because of my lived experience, and I have this unique ability to be able to tap into their psyche, call them out on their shit when I need to, because I've been there, I've done it. I can see right through them. I'm like, like because I've done it, but I also understand it, and I empathize. I'm also very action orientated. You talked about plans and things like that. I'm
Yes.
very get to the let's get going, guys.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And what do you think is the also from your side then? Because I said it from my side before. What do you think is the most like the difference between it and also the similarities?
yeah, it's a good question. I think The similarities, okay, I think the difference is, uh, you know, you guys have been brought up in a, and when I say guys, I mean women and men.
Yeah,
You've been brought up in, like you said, you've been brought up in this digital world, right? And so I think the difference is that you look at us at times and go, why are you guys working like you are? Why aren't you smelling, like, why aren't you enjoying life? Why aren't you switching off, going off and doing things, playing, if you like, versus we were always ingrained to, you finish your degree, or you finish high school and then you get a job and you work your butt off, and everything is just this. It's like a career ladder. Whereas your generation is showing us that that's not what it is anymore, and let's look at it differently. So I think that's a huge difference. I will come back to, though, the human piece. I do think that I wouldn't say it's a difference. I would just say that I don't think we can underestimate the human element in this world that we're in right now. And I think more than ever we need more human intelligence. We've got
yeah,
tons of AI intelligence. It's not going anywhere. So I wouldn't say that's a difference or a similarity. I just think that the amount of generations in business right now, and like the more experienced versus the more up and coming, we need to be uniting ourselves around this human intelligence piece, like not losing sight of human, because the human at the end of the day, the machine has all the patterns and everything else, but us humans need to rally together. And as leaders, as younger leaders, as older leaders, coming together and like reminding ourselves that we're all human, and we at the end of the day should be making the high flow decisions is what I call it, and leading the way. So I think that for me, that is something that we have similarities because we are human, and then how do we bring that together, if that makes sense? So
yeah.
I haven't
I
answered your
think
question specifically. I just see that,
But I get it. And in the end of the day, also, I think the greatest leader and like are the ones that want to give away as well as want to give other people the possibility of going the same path and not being egoistic about it and not just being like, okay, that's mine, that's all mine. No, in the end of the day, you wanna give piece of the cake, you wanna give people the same possibility, opportunities, because if you
Absolutely.
do it alone, you pass away, then it's done. And also with that, I want to build a legacy on that and saying, okay, you can follow the same path, you can have the same hunger, and work together on something and not just me as one person knowing everything, being the expert in everything. That's just nobody's perfect. But if we come together, we can try making something perfect.
Absolutely. I love it. Oh my gosh, Brandon, you and I have spoken for 45 minutes. We could have kept
Yes,
talking. It's been such a great conversation. Maybe we can get together and do I don't know, an event someday, or like
would love to.
when you're next in Bali, maybe we organise something, or when you're next in Asia. I do want to get back to Europe, don't get me wrong, or, the US at some point, but maybe we can get together and
No,
create
I would
some.
love to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been such a great conversation. Brandon, how do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about your business?
Well, on Instagram, we're trying to post more and more. We want to also, leverage our own as well as LinkedIn as well. And well, we have a website,
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I'll have to
but
get your.
I'm always reachable. Usually, like if someone wants to get in touch with me, I try to make it as not as hard as possible. We're just a bit selective sometimes, but that's okay.
I think it's good. I think it's good to be selective. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll have to get your, I'll email you to get your Insta hand.
Yes,
Oh, I think you might have sent it. I'll triple check. Brandon, we've
we'll
had,
see.
we've had the cleaners, we've had the Marley Bob, we've had everybody happening, coming around the background. And I think this is, again, just a
No,
reminder that we're all equal. We're all people. We're all dogs. We're all human. Like, let's just all be kind to each other as well, as we continue to, strive for success. Success can look like very many different things, and I think that that's a really important reminder also. So thank you so much for coming on
thank
my
you
show.
very much for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day and enjoy your family time. And yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You
Namaste.
too. Have a great evening.